Hi and good morning. It is February 19th, 2023, and I haven't spoken on this channel for about 7 months or so. I feel like August. Is that right? September, October, November, December, January, February. Ish, right around the time I moved in to this joint, this new place. Hello. I've missed you. Uh, some things have changed. I find it funny that I'm choosing to redo this. I'm sort of rebranding, but not really, sort of morph branding, which is to say that I believe I will continue on with the trajectory that we were on previously, except for this environment is going to change and sort of my, I want to say addendum. Is that right? Here's what's going on. I have changed the trajectory of what I'm doing with myself in terms of goals for career and finding creative people to work with. And if you cannot tell by the setup, I am progressing into voiceover. And in my realm, like narration, commercial, internet, television, voiceover. It might move into other areas also. I'm not opposed, but I'm going to focus on these things right now. And the reason I bring it up is because I originally was going to sort of just rebrand completely and be Unabashed VO, which I am going to do. But I didn't think the previous videos were relevant. And as I progress into this, I realized they're actually incredibly relevant. And the reason for that is because, ironically, at least in the field, the avenue that I'm going into, the goal, unless otherwise stated, is to be as natural as possible, even though you're reading copy. And I realized, well, shit, I have 2 years of me just speaking to lean back on this ability to do this. So I will admit to an ulterior motive, which is I will probably do this sort of thing more regularly as I start moving into auditions. And so I will do this as a practice, as a warm-up, and then move into recording auditions. And another element as to why it's relevant, and I think it would be relevant for anything where your goal, if the way you're trying to live your life is in alignment with the way you see things in your belief system. And we've talked about this, right? That who you are here is who you are here. So what you're dragging, what baggage you're dragging into here is coming with you anywhere. And that's how you stand in your own way. Same. So I don't want, and this is always true of acting, they say, leave your shit at the door, come in, do your rehearsals, what have you. Same. Sorry for the mouth pop. Perhaps I will get better lighting in here. I don't know if it's relevant. It's more important that you hear me, not that you see me. But, sorry, I was just thinking about that. Maybe I'll get something pretty back here. But in any case, I do have something I want to talk about. Something that's bugging me. And I set myself up for it, which is for those of you who know, who have, I believe I've posted it, I have a manifesto. And in the manifesto, I present my condensed version of, or my condensed translation of aspects of manifestation, ways to get there, in my opinion, quicker. But not just that, how to override your own bullshit, which requires being aware that you have bullshit, right? Which also requires, it's the practice of receptivity, is what I'm getting at. Everything. Voiceover is the practice of receptivity. I have to be receptive to what the client wants, not what I think is best. Sometimes those will be in alignment, sure. Hopefully more often than not. but it would not be in my best interest to come from a place of resistance, right? So, with that in mind, because I have become acutely aware of just how much people make stuff up and make meaning of things, we do this all the time. We don't investigate, we don't ask questions, we aren't curious, we talk about people without them present and come up with conclusions about what we think is going on. And I'm not saying we're 100% inaccurate 100% of the time, but to then proceed forward without them knowing, without their understanding, without their knowledge, without their approval, without their ability to consent, without their ability to stand up for themselves, say where they're coming from, that's just tyranny. That's oppression. That's bullying. That's all the things everyone thinks everyone else is doing. No, you're doing it. You're doing it. You're doing it. You're doing it. I'm doing it sometimes. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to be aware of myself. But if you're not aware of yourself and you're operating from a place of self-loathing and making shit up, believing it, projecting it, and acting on it, you're the problem. And so I bring it up because it's happening around me constantly. And I feel, I'm actually making this up a little bit. I've actually had some validation on it. But what I perceive happening is I'm being vilified for how I approach things without being talked to or even asked, like, hey, where did you come up with that theory? Or I actually don't know anything about your background. What do you know? It's, oh, she doesn't do it the way I would do it, thereby she's wrong. I'm not wrong. I just do it differently. I also have, in this particular field, 30 years of experience, the field I'm talking about, which is childcare. I'm getting real sick and tired of people deciding who I am. Usually it's not great. Again, I'm sort of making that up because have I talked to everyone about it? No. But for whatever reason, people never come up to me and be like, hey, I think you're great. It's always, hey, so-and-so's talking about you. Why do we do that? I don't understand. I don't understand why we do what we do, which is why I do this, right? Because I want to try and understand, at least from my accountability. All I can do is be accountable for myself, right? And all you can do really is be accountable for yourself. But in order to do that, we have to be aware of whether or not we're being accountable. If you're interested in the manifesto, maybe I'll post it I'll just post it. You can read it. I did modify it a bit. I think it reads a little better. So that's what's bugging me right now. We've talked before about the really unfortunate trait that people, especially adults, tend to have, which is, as a way to identify as an adult, means to abandon your imagination. And I don't know where we got that idea. Please stop doing it. Please stop doing it. We need it. If you like God, it's your God-given guidance system. It's something that was given to you to use, to manifest, and to create. But we tend to misuse it for bullshit and nonsense. We're still using it. You're walking around talking about people, talking smack and gossiping. That's using your imagination incorrectly. Do something different. Do something better. Set up a better trajectory. You're painting a road of bullshit. Stop doing that. I'm so mad. I just want to be around people who don't do that. And it's a small handful of people, honestly. I have to find a way to clear the path through the nonsense because I feel like my day-to-day is just this constant deflecting of that. So obviously, to some degree, I'm accountable. I can't take myself out of the equation. I'm the common denominator, right? But I haven't figured that out yet. I know usually I don't come on and talk about stuff, till I've actually gotten through and figured it out. I haven't figured this one out yet. So if you know, please tell me. Oh, Lord. And also, if you're a person who requires voiceover and you like my voice and the way I sound and believe I could present your product in a way that's in alignment with how you want, please let me know. My demos will be getting recorded soon. I want to get back to playing with people. I've been painting, and I'm objectively bad. Sometimes it turns out in a way that I think is cool, and I'm like, hey, that's fantastic. But most of the time, it's garbage. And it took me a little while to be okay with that. And I know, and again, if you're new here, I'm not saying anything new. I'm just saying it from my perspective. But it was interesting to me just how many demons, metaphorically, spoke to me as I started. And they were like, oh, you're not good. No one's going to like this. All the things. And you're like, well, first of all, I'm not necessarily going to show anybody. So why is that even part of this conversation? This is about process. This is about me just exploring something I've always been interested in doing. And in doing so, I discover other things, right? Like, it's not just this medium on canvas. It's this medium on glass. Or it's a process of discovery. That's it. That's how we keep our neural pathways going and lubricated. And this idea that we have to abandon the imagination or get real small in how we think and how we proceed in our life to protect ourselves from whatever, it's not right. It's not correct. And it's making people sad and depressed and anxious. And it's prolific. And I think it's fixable. And if not in this way that I share, in other ways, many things can be true at the same time. We know that. So I encourage you to really be honest with yourself and accountable for yourself and what you want. And to just take tiny steps towards it. And acknowledge that there's going to be moments, we'll call them obstacles if you like, or shadows. That's part of it. You got to look at it and be like, what are you? I see you. I don't know if I need you, but I see you, and you need to go over here now so I can proceed forward. We don't have to make a big deal out of them. I think because we do, that's what keeps us from proceeding forward, right? We think it's this boulder that's on top of us and we can't do anything until it moves, but it won't move until you stop giving it the weight. Just push the boulder off of you. You can. We've talked about this. Quit being resistant. Practice receptivity. You can't just quit being resistant. I know that's absurd. But shift your thinking to practicing receptivity. And maybe we need to revisit this for a second. Okay, so it looks like this. If I'm resistant and I'm like this all the time as an act of protection, if you will, I think I'm protecting myself. Oh, I am resistant to people who act like this, or this sensation, or that thing that I think I'm afraid of. The problem with that is, whatever is over here, I don't actually know what it is because I'm blocking my vision. So I'm afraid of what exactly? I'm afraid of the story I'm telling myself on this side. You're just telling yourself bullshit and believing it and then projecting it and living like that. Bring down the resistance. See what's actually there. Acknowledge it. Go, oh, I got it. And then you can deal with it. This you can't deal with. Also, when we do this, we're blocking ourselves from what we do want, because we get habituated to the resistance. And what we want is also over here, by the way. But you can't have it. This is this is what Abraham Hicks is talking about all the time. If you're resistant, you can't get what you want, even if it's right here, because you're doing this. Lower your resistance. Be receptive. Be open to seeing. Think of it as like, instead of standing in, and I know I've said this before, but like, instead of standing in the mire and the muck and the crowd, rise above and literally like go up the hill and stand above the mire and the nonsense and the crowd so you can see what's happening. And then make your choices. It is actually quite simple. And I know that we're not accustomed to that. Just because it's simple doesn't mean it doesn't take some time and some practice, because we've habituated ourselves to this way of thinking. And it entails going, okay, I've been operating from a place of self-loathing for these reasons that I can name right now. And I would like to practice operating from a place of self-love. And in order to do that, I have to acknowledge the self-loathing, practice the self-love. And when you self-love, you're even loving the things you don't like about yourself. You're also loving the fact that you are being accountable for your nonsense and your bullshit and the stories and the meaning making that you're doing, so that you can set yourself free. As usual, that's what I want for everyone. And it does make life easier. I got an itch, sorry. Oh. It does make life easier, but as I was discussing, sometimes it's frustrating, because then you really see the nonsense people are up to, and it hurts. Because you can't change it, and you can't fix it, and you feel vilified. I do. I'll speak for me. Sometimes too, when there's patterns, when it seems like it's gone, like, oh, this again. So maybe next time I will have that all figured out, and I can tell you what the through is, right? In any case, I think that's it for now. Thank you so much. I can't promise anything about the lighting for next time. I don't know. We'll see. Partner is going to build me a different setup for all of this. So, I just thought of a way I could make it. I have this, you can see this salt lamp. If I can put it behind the camera. Yeah, I know you don't care. I think about this. Okay, thank you for being here. It's nice to chat at you again. I appreciate you. And I hope you find ways to love yourself this week. Okay.